Hello and welcome to Discourse of Peacocks for my analysis of the Sunderland versus Leeds United game, which ended in a 2-2 draw. It was an interesting game where Sunderland came out absolutely flying. Maybe the first couple of minutes Leeds United were on top, but after that it was all Sunderland really. Then obviously they get the goal. Frustrating as hell as always. But after that they kind of set back and they soaked up a lot of pressure from us, which eventually ended up in us scoring the goal, the header, fantastic header by Pirro. Going into half time, 1-1. We then score in the second half. Again, lovely assists, 2 assists by Nonto, and a number 9 finish by Junior Firpo. And that should have been the game. Yeah. As you may notice, I'm wearing my Leeds United membership hat because I thought that this yellow would mean that I would be adding a little bit of a ray of sunshine into this potentially not bleak, but certainly more downcast than we all thought with 30 seconds left of the game. So let's go in. Today we've got the good, the bad, and the oh-so Leeds United. So starting with the good, it was Rothwell and Tanaka's first start. I thought they did a brilliant job. They were obviously much better going forwards. Considering how little time they have played together, I thought they did a really cohesive job in the midfield. I thought Rothwell really looks like he's trying to claim some sort of a starting position when everybody's back fit. Whether that'll happen or not is a different scenario, but I thought that he didn't do much wrong, especially in that first half. I thought he was incredible in that first half, really progressive. It was nice to see his corners. We looked a little bit more threatening again, which is obviously a similar situation to the Norwich game on Tuesday, where we just looked that little bit more threatening. But then obviously you had the whole, well, Leeds United and we don't score from set pieces back into the mix, then we still didn't score from one. However, they do look like they might get a job done, and the more he plays, the more people learn where he's going to basically place the ball. So hopefully that is a good thing, especially in the fact of, I think what I said last time about Daniel Farke using the strengths of the players that he has available. Rothwell and Tanaka are more attacking focused, so maybe we need to steer into the skid of being more attacking and giving up the secure foundations that we've had over the last season a bit of, kind of working out from the back and therefore being defensively solid. Maybe we just need to go a little bit more attacking because those are the players that we have available. Rothwell isn't a defensive, midfielder. He is more attack minded, so we need to work to his strengths. That leads us on, obviously, to the attack in general. And I thought Nonto, just Somerville, who? Jorginho Rutter, who? Welcome, Wilfred Nonto. He has really stepped up the last couple of games. And the fact that he was involved directly in both of the goals. He's now got 5 goal contributions in the last 3 games. He's like a man possessed at the minute, and his defensive work as well has been top notch over the last couple of games. The fact that he got both of their fullbacks booked, I think it just goes to show how incredible he is and how being able to be the main man is benefiting him, and the fact that his small but stocky shoulders seem to be able to carry that burden is nothing but brilliant for Leeds United going forward. It's something that hopefully we can use and get the most out of throughout the rest of the season. Obviously, with the first goal, Pirro's goal, I thought that's just the ultimate striker's finish. It was a fantastic header. Obviously, he was a bit quiet in the Norwich game. He didn't really do anything, which is his first kind of sub appearance in a few games where he's not done anything. So I'm glad that he got a goal, especially from a starting position. I think the lineups surprised a lot of us when it came to the fact that Pirro actually started. I don't think anybody, including myself, I didn't think that we would see that. I'm presuming it's to do with the 3 games in 6 days kind of scenario. So I thought that he actually did some running and he didn't lose the ball every time. I know that's a really low bar that we've set for him. Sorry. I know that's a really low bar that we seem to have set for him, because he doesn't seem to run that fast. The ball seems to just be repelled from him at most times outside of the box. But I thought he did some impressive running. He did manage to keep the ball a few times, which, I kind of very sarcastically said to myself, oh, well, Pirro's got the ball, so we're going to lose it now. And we didn't. So I thought that was very impressive, and his finish was a definite number 9. Although we might not necessarily need him as a number 9, because if anybody's heard, our left back also plays a very convincing number 9. How many times this season has Firpo found himself in the attacking third? How many times has he wandered into the middle of the pitch just outside of the D? And everybody's kind of panicked thinking, Junior Firpo, he does know that he's a left back, doesn't he? Why is he there? But the give and go from him and Nonto, and the fact that Nonto was so selfless there and didn't just try and take the goal because he's the kind of the forward player out of the two of them. Yeah, I thought it was brilliant. I thought it was a goalkeeper maybe should have done something slightly better with it. But it was wonderful placement by Firpo, really just calm, casual finish. So maybe he's the backup number 9 that we never knew that we needed. Obviously, after we scored the second goal, I thought we controlled the game really well. We looked very comfortable out of possession for being such a possession-based team. We didn't flounder without the possession in the second half. Once we went the 2-1 up, we just looked very comfortable, very calm. And considering how many of our kind of midfield and defenders were on yellow cards, I thought that was fantastic as well. The fact that we didn't seem to feel the pressure of being on yellow cards, because we had Rodon, Bogle on a yellow card, Stroke on a yellow card. I can't remember. But then we had Rothwell was on a yellow card as well. So I think the fact that we had so many people on yellow cards, we're up against the team that currently sat top of the table, and we made them look subpar for most of the game as well. And I think for a good 80% of the game, we made Sunderland look like a mid-table team. That's not taking anything away from them, but I expected a bit more with them being from home, especially in that first few minutes. I was watching the positioning and they were playing with a back 8 at times. So the fact that they were at home, obviously the first goal changed it because of the fact that they could then just sit back. But I was surprised that they started being so defensively kind of sound. And I know that that's not a bad thing. It's just something that I didn't necessarily expect from them. Obviously, we played with a weakened team as well, and you wouldn't really have known it. that starting 11, I said it last time, I'm not concerned about that starting 11. Obviously, at the moment, the bench options are very light, but I did feel slightly better having Schmidt back on the bench, because we know that he has the potential to be, the kind of rebirth of Stuart Dallas. So I did feel slightly more comfortable having him sat on the bench. We did have a utility player that we could bring on and kind of shove him anywhere on the pitch and I'll be fine. So I think with such a weakened team, we didn't look like we were weak. These are the best. They've had the best start to the season, so they're going to be there or thereabouts by the end of it. I wouldn't have thought that they would get top 2, and that's not me trying to underestimate them or diminish what they've done so far. It's just thinking of the squad depth and things like that. How many teams, Preston, for instance, from last season, came out flying and then were mid-table by the end of the season. I don't think Sunderland will be mid-table. I think they will be playoffs. But I also think that they didn't look anything special. They looked okay, and that was down to how well we made them look okay. We didn't make them look special. We didn't make them look like they hadn't conceded at all this season at home. We made them look as if they were beneath us for solid 80% of the time, which I think, again, brilliant, fantastic. One thing that, it kind of almost came back a little bit. Karma came back and bit us on the backside in the end. I actually thought we time wasted well, and it's something that we talk about in hushed tones when it comes to time wasting, because nobody actively likes to say that they want to see their team time waste, because we don't. We want to see football being played. But when you are up against a team of probably the most equal in terms of the results don't lie, that there is a reason why they're top of the table. And I think the fact that we were able to employ the time wasting tactics so well, and they so close to getting us the 3 points over the line, that's something that I would like to see more of. If we are not going to push to get that kind of 2-goal cushion, and it is just going to be a 1-goal kind of difference, I would like to see us doing things like that. Meslier took a long time to take certain goal kicks and passes out and this, that and the other. But it almost worked. It almost worked. And I think that leads us on to the bad section. Again, my first point about the midfield was that they were great going forward, but we did have some concerns in terms of they did leave us very open. Now, that's to be expected, and it just means that the centre-backs and just the rest of the defensive unit has to stay more switched on than they would do if it was maybe Gruev and Ampadu in front, because the two midfielders are more attack-minded, so there is going to be a gap in the middle. So I think that that's something that maybe might need addressing in the international break, is tightening up that midfield and who stays back, and where the triggers are for somebody staying back, whether the triggers are that everybody bombs forward and we just overload people, or whether somebody has just to have that kind of defensive solidity at the back of their mind. But that's something that we can work on. Another concerning thing is the yellow card situation. We've got quite a few mounting up, and obviously that normally wouldn't necessarily be an issue, but with the amount of injuries that we have in terms of midfield and centre-back, it is slightly concerning. Obviously, you've got Rodon on 4. I think Bogle's on 4 as well. And then you've got Verpo on 3. And then, no, this isn't defence, but best attacker, we've got Nonto on 3 as well. And I think at least 2 of them have been for kind of arguing with the ref or dissent kind of thing. silly ones that have frustrated me throughout the season. I don't want to take this away from the fact that Nonto was my man of the match, but we just need a little bit more discipline before the team ends up with disciplinary issues where we have the under-21s genuinely having to play a role in the first team, which, yeah, we could do without. Hopefully Rodon can get back to his best in terms of hopefully we can have less fouls, and again, I think that comes with the midfield not being as defensively minded. The defenders actually have to be more defensively minded than they would normally be. So hopefully, Burpo, Bogle, Rodon can all just stay that little bit switched on, just a little bit more. We're going to have to talk about it, aren't we? The ginormous elephant in the room, which is the Meslier slip up, bounce up, whatever you want to call it. My belief is I really think he should have gone forward a little bit more and caught it. There's always a danger, even if there wasn't a sprinkler, which it now seems to be agreed upon that there was a sprinkler on the floor and that's where it hit. If you smother that ball by catching it first, that bounce is never an issue. A bounce is always an issue because you just don't know where it's going to go. Because especially at 96 minutes where you've had a full game of football, where the ground's been chewed up, you don't know where the divots are. You don't know where random bits that people have thrown in from the crowd might have, landed. I'm sure it was Liverpool and the balloon scenario just comes to the back of my mind. So yeah, you should have caught it. There's just no defending that really. Regardless of whether there was a divot on the pitch, regardless of whether, maybe he was still feeling, the effects of the Strout knee to the head. If that's the case, I'm sure concussion is 10 days. So if he'd have gone off in like the 90th minute and we'd have made that substitution, I'm sure Carl Darlow could have just done it for 6 minutes and then we would have still had Meslier back before the next game because it would have been the correct amount of time in between us playing and having the substitution, the concussion substitute rules. I'm pretty sure it's 10 days. I'm not 100%. I am fairly sure. So regardless, he should have either gone off if he was feeling concussed or blurry vision or anything like that, or he should have just caught the ball. So yeah, it really did feel like 2 points dropped that game. It really did, because we controlled it so well after the second goal. 1 or 2 goals are always dangerous when it comes to there's very little wiggle room for mistakes, but we'd done it. So that leads me on to the Leeds United, because it really was a Leeds United kind of, game in the end. We are our own downfall in so many situations. We score the goals that we need to, we defend when we need to, and then a freak, which, there's been so many memes, and you've had, BBC, all sorts of talk sport, all the kind of the sporting, journalists coming out and saying things about it, and we became the laughing stock of social media over the weekend, which meant that I basically just turned off social media when it came to Leeds United. I went very quiet, and that's why it's taken me so long to do this match reaction, because I haven't wanted to be around the toxicity of fans, the kind of it was just wild that the match reaction on Just Joe's show was absolutely wild. Some of the comments that were coming in was absolutely mind-boggling, and I didn't want to be a part of that. It's just, it is what it is. The irony is I genuinely said to my husband before the game, with the amount of injuries that we have, with the lack of bench that we have, with the team and where they are, as in Sunderland at the moment, a point would not be the end of the world. In fact, I'd be quite happy with a point. But I think when you are seconds away from the most ideal away performance and you manage to do that, it really felt like a loss by the end of it. And I don't think I've ever felt that way, well, at least not in a long, long time, where a game where we actually gained a point felt so much like a loss. And it really did. I think another thing to say is that people need to realise, regardless of what your opinions are on Meslier and whether he can make it in the Premier League, I am also doubtful as to whether Meslier will be with us if we get promoted, because I don't feel that he has improved enough to be the goalkeeper that we need. We're not going to get another goalkeeper at this level, so there's no point getting on and sending abusive messages or booing or doing anything like that or cheering sarcastically. There's no point doing that. He's going to be our goalkeeper. The 49ers are not going to go out and buy another goalkeeper in January. It's just not going to happen, because if they do that, then they take away from another position. And right now, it's the first game where he has made an absolute howler. Yes, there's, he could have maybe saved the penalty against Norwich, but that's a penalty. There's a lot of things that can go wrong with a penalty, so I don't blame him too much for that one. But that's the real, probably the first howler that he's made this season, and they're not going to replace him. It's so I'm getting behind him, not because I actually think that he will be with us next season one way or another. I just don't. But he's the starting goalkeeper. Daniel Farke isn't going to drop him. You're not going to go. And if he does drop him, he may make himself look like a bit of a fool, because he has gone on the bandwagon of Meslier is the best goalkeeper in this league. And again, I don't necessarily believe that, but we're just not going to do anything about that. There's other positions that we can win games by improving, i.e. potentially a number 10, midfielders, as in attacking midfielders. So I think there's other positions that if we do strengthen in January, they will be more vital, because if we keep the ball away from our own net, nobody's going to score against us. So that's what they'll do. I think we're stuck with him until the Premier League, and I don't think he's bad. I just don't necessarily think that he is the answer. I don't think he's improved enough. And I said this at the end of last season, and I think even the season before, that maybe his journey at Leeds United is over, and that's fine. I wish him nothing but the best. But in all honesty, he's not going anywhere this season. Next season, he might. Another thing was the obviously Junior Firpo. Absolutely devastated for him that it's gone down as an own goal. I thought he played brilliantly, and he hasn't scored a winning goal since the Southampton 1-0 in 2023. So I was gutted for him, in all honesty, that he'd kind of had that moment of celebration taken away from him. And that we couldn't celebrate the picture of the freeze frame of Willie Gnonto blowing the Sunderland fan kisses, because that would have just been absolutely bob on. But it is what it is. I understand his reaction for storming down the tunnel. Yes, it's maybe not great for camaraderie right there and then, but I was always brought up with if you have nothing nice to say nothing at all. And maybe at that moment in time, he didn't have anything nice to say, so he just needed to leave in order to not ruin anything. He just needed to get away. And I think all of us would do better in life if we just did that. I'm not saying that it's ideal, because it's on a public stage. You're seeing a teammate run away from another one because of the fact that he was angry. But having seen some of the social media posts since then, especially like Strauk and Tanaka, they've come out and saying that we need to be stronger than ever. We need to be there for one another. I think that says a lot about the fact that they've all talked. And obviously Strauk being, the current captain with Ampadu not being there. I think the fact that he's saying that publicly on social media means that things have been said in the changing rooms and they want this sense of team spirit and unity back again, and that they have all done things. Junior Firpo has cost us games before in the Premier League. So he probably knew that he just needed to get out and leave, because it would be a bit hypocritical of him having a go at Meslier when he himself has also cost us games. The handball against Newcastle where he got sent off in the third game before the end of the season. Anyway, so he's done stupid, reckless things that have meant that we have struggled. So yeah, what's everybody's opinion on that? When somebody storms off, and specifically in this context, what does everybody feel about that? Does everybody understand it? Do they enjoy it? Do they think that it's understandable? Do they think it's ridiculous and that you should be there for your teammate? Everybody needs to show kind of the fact that you're together in all of this. So yeah, please discuss in the comments below. If you like the video, pop a like, subscribe, do all of those lovely YouTube-y loving things, notification bells and stuff like that. Do all of that. And I think that's everything for today. So hopefully we can come back and stuff Sheffield United when we get back after the international break with, please, Lady Luck, no injuries. Okay, guys, right, I'll see you all later. Bye.